Welcome back to eXcess Reality, the podcast where two goofballs bring the future of XR into the present. I'm your host, Allison Day, and I'm here with my co-host, Sunwin. And we've got a bit to talk about. I know we keep coming back to this topic.
Yes.
But it's something that feels really important because we want mass adoption of VR eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never going to happen if everybody keeps getting sick.
Yes.
It's very
That's
difficult.
For sure. That's for sure.
So there was this tweet that was being discussed quite a bit last week about getting sick in VR and how some games just will instantly make you really, really sick. And people were discussing like getting your VR legs and all that.
So first of all, VR legs.
Yes.
I've been thinking about this. Actually, I was thinking about while I was taking a shower today. Gotta keep myself clean, right? But VR legs.
Important. It's important.
What does that mean, Nelson?
So it pretty much means that it's kind of like getting your sea legs. When you go on a boat.
You know what? I never heard of that term before.
Really?
No, I never heard of that term.
So when you go on a boat, at first, everything's really like, oh my gosh, I can't stand straight. I can't walk around. I'm really dizzy. And then when you're on a boat for a while, you get your sea legs.
So when you get used to
you're
it.
used to being on that movement of being on a boat.
I see.
And then when you get off the boat, you get really because you're not used to being on solid ground. And so it takes you a little while to get used to that again.
Right.
So that's the whole concept of sea legs. And I'm wondering if you just haven't been on enough boats to
No, I don't think so.
be familiar with that.
But I've been on many airplane ride, like especially long one. And then, whenever we fly to notice what? Whenever we fly to like long distance to Japan or something, like 10 hours. And then that night when you arrive in Japan, Tokyo, whatever, and then you go to sleep, and I can still feel lying in bed. I still feel like I'm moving. Is that just me?
I don't think I've ever
really
had a problem with that.
Oh,
not with planes.
Or even when we're in Japan and we ride the train, all day.
Yes.
And then you go home and you go to sleep, and you can still feel like you feel that movement of the train just bouncing. I feel that. I never heard of the term VR legs.
I don't think I'd ever been that sensitive to
maybe because I'm just anxious on the airplane, so I'm like gripping myself.
For you, if it's an anxiety thing that you're,
I'm gripping myself to the airplane.
And is it that you actually feel like you're moving around, or is it like the anxiety coming back up of that experience?
It's the turbulence. You know how on airplanes sometimes you fly and you all of a sudden it just drops. It drops. That's how I feel on when I'm going to sleep. The first night whenever I fly somewhere far, I can feel that drops. Maybe because I'm anxious.
I feel like that might be an anxiety thing, because it's not like you get used to turbulence.
No,
because
I don't think so.
Like by the end of the flight, if there's turbulence, you still feel that turbulence.
Feel it, and it's still scary.
Right.
But maybe because
it's maybe a different concept.
Maybe it's because I'm more scared of it. I'm more anxious of it. So it's kind of
It's like how the anxieties of the day kind of come back up when you're trying to go to sleep, and you're just like, oh my god, this terrible thing happened.
Yeah. So what were we talking about today?
VR legs.
VR legs. Okay.
Or anxieties with flying.
So with the definition of VR legs,
the whole idea is that your brain gets used to this motion or idea of motion in VR, mimicking the motion in VR. And so hypothetically, you get used to moving around in VR without your physical body moving around, and you don't get so sick from it.
Right.
I don't have my VR legs. No, I don't think you have your VR legs.
So here's the thing. We talked about this maybe a few times before in previous episode. Yeah.
Like every episode.
And we were wondering if it was just us, are we the weird, not the weird, but are we the outliers who cannot develop VR legs? And it seems the last week I've seen a lot of conversation on Twitters about different developers and artists who use VR on a daily basis, who has who's coming out and talking about this, the comfortableness of VR usage. Yeah, I'm just adding words. I'm just making up words now. But there's a lot of conversation on Twitter, people coming out discussing about how, you know, they're having problem with motion sickness with different applications or games or whatever. And it makes me validate my
motion sickness.
My motion sickness is that I'm not the only one. And it seems like a lot of people who've been doing it for a long time, who's been doing it on a daily basis, still have this problem. And I don't think it's a problem that, I think maybe there's a small crowd out there, a small percentage of all VR user who do get used to these things. And
it seems like it's possibly even more of a minority.
Yeah.
But as far as I know, there haven't actually been studies done.
No.
This is all anecdotal. So it's really hard to say because, you know, a lot of people may be like, well, I don't get my VR legs, but I also never use VR because it makes me sick.
Yeah.
So it's I would assume not very common for somebody who's having a bad experience with VR to just push through it.
Yeah.
Unless it's actually your job and you have to.
Yeah.
I've also seen people talking about how they don't know if VR legs are actually a thing, or if it's just the fact that the technology has gotten better. So people think that they are getting more tolerant when it's actually more of the technology.
Right. Technology and also just developers getting better.
Right. But that's what I mean.
At making things more
both
comfortable.
hardware and software.
Yes.
My assumption would be it's a combination of the two. And of course, this is all anecdotal, but obviously hardware and software have gotten better. There's been a lot of research and a lot of things talked about for different techniques and hacks and ways to make your VR experiences better for your users.
Yeah.
But also, I think you will, to an extent, get used to it if you do it often enough.
Right.
But I think that's also going to depend on the experience.
Yeah, I think so. I think more developers.
Some experiences are just going to screw with you.
Yeah.
And some are going to be totally fine. And some may take some getting used to.
Yeah. And we were discussing this before the show or before the podcast. And we were saying, I was telling Allison that I totally understand now why Oculus is so restrictive on the app that they put out there, because it's for now at least. But I mean, even in the future, they still going to go through a process of approval, but it's not going to be so strict in the future.
Right.
But I can see now why they'd have that, because if you're a new user coming to VR and it's your first time and you run into a bad experience, the
wrong experience can totally mess you up VR forever.
And it did it to us too. The first time getting the Oculus Quest 6 months ago,
and we were just like, we can't.
We were put off by it. I mean, even so put off by it, and to the point that when we got the Oculus Quest the second time around, because we're like, you know what, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna get used to it. But I was so, my mind was so,
he was traumatized.
It's traumatized by it that when I put when the second time around we got it, when I put it on, I could smell the new smell of plastic, the new smell of foam or whatever it is. And it brought me back.
Oculus smell.
It brought me back.
Oh, that makes me nauseous.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. Okay, I just put it on and I'm already feeling sick.
Yeah. See, I think I had just been like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that much of the VR experiences the first time around.
Yes.
So I don't have that negative association with the smell.
I think it was, what was it? I need to stop covering my mouth when I'm talking on the mic.
This is a podcast. We're talking like this.
Podcast. What was it that I think was VR chat, or maybe it was something else. It was,
I know you were doing
with
Rec Room?
Rec Room. That's what I was doing. And I was and that got me so sick because I was playing because it was my first time playing. That was 6 months ago, first time playing, so I didn't know what my body is comfortable with. And
so
I didn't
you
know
were just like locomotiving.
Yeah, I was just
all over the place.
Exactly. I was just using the joystick, the little thumbstick, and just moving myself in VR while not physically moving. And after about 15 minutes, I'm just like, you know what? I can push through this. And then after 15 minutes, I was just, okay, I'm going to go throw
Mistakes
up.
were made.
I'm going to go throw up now.
Mistakes were made. Luckily, the barf counter is still at 0.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
we'll see.
We'll see.
But yeah, I think for me, even just the home experience, like the default Oculus experience,
really
was enough to make me a little like, I don't know if I can do more of this. I feel like Beat Saber so far is the only one that's really not at all made me
Do you
sick.
think that I actually read something? I don't know if it's in this thread that we're looking at right now on our vlog on what did Blacklash call this? Our vodcast.
Our vodcast, yes.
Shout out to Blacklash and all Patreon supporter. Thank you very much.
Indeed.
But in this thread, I don't know if it's in this thread or it's a different thread, but somebody was mentioning something about how as a solution to your motion sickness, what you can do is play loud music, and that will mess up while you're in VR, while things are moving, because it will knock your sense, because vertigo, right? It's all in your ears, right? Or whatever that's called. I don't know anything about it. I'm not a doctor.
I feel like that'll just make me barf.
But you know how something like when you are when you have something, when your ears are plugged, you feel a little bit disoriented. I don't know, maybe your ear's not plugged as much as, but is that there's something in your ears. I don't know what the logic.
That's what vertigo is.
You're balancing, right?
Things are
right. So
things get funky in your ears.
I think what it is that if you play loud music, it messes with your senses, so distract you from your, so that you don't get as much motion sickness.
Boom, boom, boom.
So
boom.
maybe in Beat Saber there's loud music. So you're paying attention more to
also
the sound.
The thing about Beat Saber is it's very static.
That too, yes.
You're not moving. Mm-hmm. You're not looking around. You are just looking in one direction.
Yeah.
And things are coming at you, and all you have to look at is other experience. Even if you're not worrying about locomotion, you're still looking around at things around you.
Yeah.
And that sort of, it's not fully natural yet.
Right.
So it can just kind of like make you feel like things are not right, and just kind of screw with how your brain's translating the world around you.
Right.
So related to all of that motion sickness and movement and all of that, it's been kind of interesting to see what sort of kind of hacks people have come up with to help with some of this. And one of the things that actually you noticed when you were playing with Google Earth VR is this, what the heck is it called?
What is it? Tunneling. Yes, VR tunneling.
The VR tunneling, where when you move or move through space, it tunnels your vision.
Right.
So instead of seeing the entire scene moving around you, you're just kind of looking at what's right in front of you.
Right.
And you were saying that helps, right?
That helps a lot. And and let me clarify something. When you said move through space, I'm talking about when you move through space without you physically moving.
Yeah.
Because when you turn your head quickly, it's okay, right? But when you're using a thumbstick on the controller and you're moving,
pretty much when there's locomotion.
Yeah, without you physically
moving, which is almost impossible with VR right now, unless you're going to have like a treadmill or something.
Yes, or a massive empty rooms. You can do like room scale VR or something like that. You can actually
I'd still run into a wall.
Yeah, no, that's I feel like that's dangerous. That's dangerous. And but yeah, so to what you're saying, one of the techniques I've seen is that tunneling. So remember that one time when I was joking when we were doing a cooking stream and on Twitch, and I was telling people like I figured out how to solve VR locomotion problem. just put everything in a small TV inside of VR and put it in front of you.
Oh, yes, I do remember this. And that's effectively what this does.
Essentially, that's what this is, right?
Because if you're just looking at one little thing, then you're not going to get dizzy.
Exactly. So you put so exactly. Allison, I'm a genius. I did not know that.
Patent this.
Did not realize.
Small TVs.
Yeah, just put a TV, put a monitor in front of you.
Yes,
and then
VR is totally worth it.
Hey, you're immersive in a room somewhere else playing a game.
Buy a several $100 hardware just to look at a monitor in VR.
Yeah, exactly. Genius.
Yes.
I tell you, genius.
Yes.
But yeah, so I tried this out on Google Earth VR on Steam VR, and it works pretty well. I get a little bit of motion sickness because you're still moving through, it's Google Earth. If you ever used Google Earth before, you're essentially flying through, airspace and looking down into buildings. So it's still kind of disorienting to just kind of floating in the air, on top of like Manhattan or something. So yes, so when you move around quickly or when you're panning the map underneath you, it makes it smaller. It create like a tunnel vision almost, and then you can move quickly through that, and it worked pretty well for me at least. I didn't get as badly motion sickness as I would have gone if it didn't do that. So this is the first time I saw an app or to be fair, we haven't really been playing that many apps or with that many games or apps.
Haven't had as much time as we'd like to try out VR stuff.
But yeah, it works pretty well, and also I did a little bit of research into the whole VR tunneling, and I found in Unity somebody has on GitHub a library of or example code of how you would do that in Unity, and it's pretty cool. So it's really cool. If you're making VR game out there, I feel like comfortable or a comfort level is very important. If
VR
not game, but
Pro.
just game and apps or experience or anything like that. I feel like the comfort level needs to be. You need to look at that first thing. You can't. It can't be an afterthought because.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if it's bad, it's bad. It's
bad. It's real bad.
Yeah, if it's bad, it's real bad. It's not just like on games on PC or Windows where maybe bad user experience or bad UI can be frustrating.
You can deal with it.
Yeah, it can be frustrating. It's like, I'm clicking on this button. Why is a button over here being clicked or something like that?
Isn't it working?
It's not. But in VR, you can make somebody sick for hours. Like
hours,
that's
days.
Like that's what happened to us 6 months ago. Yeah. So
and I feel like VR and XR in general is still such a young industry.
Yeah.
That there's still a lot of experimentation happening about what is actually the right ways to do things, and so it's kind of, as a developer, I feel like it's still kind of hard to know how you should be doing it.
It's true.
To make it so that people don't get sick or give people a good experience in VR, and there just aren't those standards yet.
No, not yet.
Nothing's been really defined that much. It's just a lot of like, oh well, Google did this thing and Apple did that thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And like there are kind of a lot of suggestions.
Yeah.
But not quite so much in terms of this is definitely how you do it. Because even like looking at Half-Life Alyx, they're putting out videos about, well, this is what we discovered.
Yeah.
We tried out a lot of things and this is what we found that works. So it's still very much in the experimental stage of things rather than this has been a standard for years. We just implemented it easy.
Yeah, that's very true.
So
I equate it to maybe in the late or in the mid 90s for the web, where we have Netscape and we just have Mosaic browser and everything is in text and nobody knows what's the right design patterns for a website. And blinking text and marquee. Wait, marquee is the thing that scroll by, right? Marquee. Who uses that nowadays? I'm sure somebody
anybody who's cool.
Or blinking text and whatnot. So yeah, and I think it's gonna take some time for everything to be developed.
Accessibility on the web.
Oh yeah,
that's something that took many years. Now it's much more of a standard.
That's true.
But you still don't see everybody doing the things that they should be doing.
That's true. That's true.
It's a standard now, but it took so many years just to get there, and probably will take even longer for it to be something that everybody just does.
Yeah.
And so, we've noticed that like accessibility in VR, like everybody always assumes that you're standing. And so like that's a horrible accessibility thing.
It is. There's many, again, we haven't had a chance to play with a lot of apps and games yet, but that's coming soon. But there's a bunch of them that I've tried that's free, or on side quests, for example, that I enter the game and assumes I'm standing it, but I'm lazy. I'm always sitting. I'm never standing to play, because it's also because I don't have that much space right here, so I can't stand and smack my monitor. So I'm just sitting. I'm sitting, and these games or these experience, I enter these experience, and I'm just under the table, and I'm thinking, hello, do I have to really stand up? Can I just
can't you just redefine it so that this is my standing? Like exactly. This is my height.
And
so like accessibility standards in VR just have such a long way to go. Partially because nobody really knows, and partially because it's so new that you don't really have people defining. I mean, like in the web, you have organizations defining this is what it means to be accessible on the web. This is how you do it. Here are the steps. Like, they make it really easy for you. In VR, it's kind of like
I guess it's a wild west.
It really
right?
is. Yeah, it really is.
And also to what you're saying, also the hardware is not set in stone yet, because I'm sure in the next year or two, new hardware is going to come out with better glasses, or maybe holographic, whatever, the thing that Facebook just announced they're researching on, where they make it smaller. So there's a bunch of different things that are coming out.
Yeah, and that's the thing. For the web, you kind of know how browsers is going to work with your website. Screw IE, but like things are pretty well defined of this is how your browser is going to work. This is how the browser is going to render this code. In VR, it's like, hey, they could change everything in a few months, and we don't know.
And different hardware provider do different things too, right?
And also different hardware technologies need different adaptations.
That's true. Yeah.
Because the dizziness from like the what were the different ones? Like the close focal point? Versus mirrors. Like there's different technologies are going to work different ways.
Yes.
So
still very young,
there's a lot that needs to happen, and a lot that can change.
Yes, that's for sure.
But yeah, and we were also looking at this fixed foveated rendering, which is another kind of interesting hack. This one's more about making VR perform better.
Yes.
Because in your peripheral vision, even in normal peripheral vision, as a human being, your peripheral vision is not great compared to where you're actually looking.
Right.
And so VR is kind of taking advantage of that and saying, well, we know that you can't actually see the things way over here very well. Like, your brain does not render them very well. So we don't have to make them rendered as nicely.
That's
because
true.
You're not even going to notice.
Yeah.
So,
but the reason why I came upon this idea, or this technology, is that I started started messing around with
He's
Unity.
been playing.
Yeah, trying to get my hands dirty with some development with VR. With Unity, and one of the thing in there is that you can enable this so that on the idea of fixed foveate rendering is that outside of your main view where you're looking through the glass, the peripheral vision of it gets rendered at lower pixel count, I think. Lower pixel count or something like that.
And these images, if you're watching on YouTube, these images that we're showing right now are actually talking about how different zones will be rendered at different pixel
resolution.
Different resolutions.
Yep.
So,
and this also explain what I'm also experiencing is that when I look through Oculus Quest and I'm trying. Every time I try to kind of glance at my peripheral vision because I'm too lazy to move my head, I'm just kicking back, right? And I'm glancing over to the left side, and it's always just look a little bit, blurry. It doesn't look as great as when you're looking forward, and it's also because could be the focal too, right? The focal is it's
the glasses themselves.
The glass themselves is it's clearest at the middle, at the center, and it's not so clear. So, and you were saying something about earlier today. You were saying something like maybe in future hardware, it could. I think that I'm sure Facebook and everyone's working on it right now, where they can.
I'm sure I'm not the first person who thought about this.
No. But yeah, I've heard of it before by Facebook.
But talking about eye tracking.
Yeah, eye tracking.
And I was saying that because you were talking about how if you look, off to your peripheral vision, things get blurry.
Yeah.
And I was saying, well, hopefully, they're taking this into account when they're developing all the eye tracking stuff.
Yeah.
And pretty much wherever you're looking will be in focus.
Right. Yeah. So it's really interesting. All the amount of hacks that it comes into to make this all work, and I mean I'm kind of amazed by
peeking behind the curtain.
Yeah, I'm kind of amazed by all the stuff that goes into it. Yeah, and to make you feel, as much as we talk about VR not being ready, it feels, even at this point right now, there's a lot of things I've been using or playing around with, and I feel it's so immersive as a medium.
It is.
I feel like I'm there, like that game that we play, the Baits, where you're just sitting there fishing, the fishing game that we play. It's so immersive. You feel like you're there, even though everything around you is not, it's not photorealistic.
You're just sitting at your desk or whatever.
Yeah, it's not photorealistic graphic. It's not, but the sounds.
Obviously a game.
It's obviously a game, but you feel like you're there, and I think it's such a wonderful medium that has a lot of room to grow, but at the same time, even as it is,
it needs to grow.
It's what I'm trying to say is it's so all the development is so far off from just because it makes you feel like you're there. That's what I'm trying to say, even though there's still a lot of room to grow.
Yeah. It's gotten very far.
Yes, I think that's what I'm trying to say.
But it still has room to grow.
Yeah.
Is what he's saying.
Yes. Thanks.
You're welcome. I speak
Summarize TLDR.
I'm here to translate.
You're the TLDR version of Sun.
I am.
Yes. So what are we talking about next?
So we wanted to look at some AR news.
We did,
because we do tend to favor VR because we have the Quest. We don't have any AR devices aside from our phones.
Yeah.
And we haven't really looked into AR development very much yet.
We have.
Although we
have a little bit of experience of AR though. We use a Magic Leap for one day, maybe for a few hours. So we have experience.
For like an hour.
Yeah.
Also, I'm happy to report he did use the Pokemon
toothbrushing
app.
I did use it.
And did not catch any Pokemon.
I did not. I was so sad. I uninstalled it. I was so upset.
Like, this damn app. I brushed my teeth.
I brushed my teeth so well. And the game said, "No, just kidding. You did not catch any Pokemon today. Sorry. Try again." I'm like, you know what? Uninstall. I'm done.
But anyways, he had sent me a link about this Focals by North, which were supposed to be some AR glasses.
Yes.
But they've kind of sort of been canceled because they were acquired by Google.
Yes.
So I went to look at the link he gave me again, and I was like, wait a minute. It's giving me a 404.
Yes.
What's going on?
Oh, they 404 it?
The actual link that you shared with me it doesn't. It's like, sorry, there's nothing here anymore.
That's what 404 stands for, if anyone's wondering. So I guess the page, they took it down, maybe. I don't know.
Because the Focals have been canceled. They're not going to go into production anymore.
Well, I mean,
but
makes sense.
Given that they've been acquired by Google, that leads us to believe that there's going to be some AR stuff coming from Google very soon.
Well, definitely.
And hopefully some nice looking AR stuff coming from Google.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're probably one of the first one to try AR with the glass, the original glass. So it makes sense that they're gonna try to do glass 2.0. And they have a lot. Alphabet has tons of money. Alphabet, the parent company of Google, has tons of money, and they're gonna acquire or acquire them into.
So it'll be really
the
interesting
industry.
to see what comes out of this.
Yeah,
and if between Google and Apple, hopefully in the next few years we'll get some nice looking AR glasses. And
there's rumors of Apple doing their AR and their VR AR glasses will come in about a couple years. And the
21, 22?
The standalone, so I think more like 22, 23. Okay. Let's just be realistic. Maybe 23, 24.
25, 26.
Yeah. I'm thinking it's about 5 years out.
Okay.
I mean, to be, in the tech industry, we're always, what's the saying? We're always overestimate and like how long things take, or underestimate.
We always underestimate how long things will take.
How long then, and
sprint planning.
Yeah, sprint planning. We're always doing that with the engineers. Like, no, it's gonna be easy. An hour of work, and it turns out to be like a week.
We've learned. All right, so this looks like an hour. We're gonna estimate a day.
No, for sure. But that's what I'm saying, right? but the people who are communicating this are business people.
And they don't realize.
They realize, but for business sake, they're like, you know what? It's going to be there in a year. Don't you worry. We'll get it out there in a year. And the engineers probably at Apple's like, are you kidding me? We're not ready yet.
How do you expect?
Yeah. So I think the glasses for the AR VR probably going to come in maybe 23, and the standalone one is probably going to be 24, 25. So that's what the rumor I've heard, at least. But
We're still doing the podcast in a few years.
We could be wearing that, Allison, as we do the podcast, and then I can feed me in the my script, so I don't have to sound like a.
Okay, but you with the script.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Well. You're right. I'm bad at reading. It's going to be really slow. It's going to be very unorganic. It's going to be unnatural and slow as I speak through it.
Fixed.
Renderer. Parenthesis. FFR.
No, you don't have to read the whole
parenthesis.
He's turned into a screen reader.
That's pretty much, I don't do well with that. So it'll be interesting to see this, whenever they come out with this.
But speaking of acquisitions,
did we get Acquire? Oh no, we didn't get Acquire.
Everybody thought that Fridge got bought. It did not. But Lululemon is acquiring the Mirror company. And if you're not familiar with Mirror, they are the ones that have, I don't know if you'd call it an AR mirror yet, but it's the mirror where you can see yourself. It acts as a normal mirror, but it also can display like a coach for working out. And so you can do workouts where you're watching yourself in the mirror and also watching a coach in the mirror who's training you, who I think can see you. So that's what the Mirror app or device does. There's a lot of speculation. I don't think anything's actually been announced, but there's been a lot of speculation that Lululemon is going to use this as like a trying on clothes sort of thing.
No, that makes sense. The screen that we're looking at right now on if you can't see this, check out YouTube.
Yeah, I don't think this is from Lululemon. I think this is from somebody else who entered this.
Oh, I see. Because what we're looking at right now makes perfect sense.
I believe
for
Lululemon. FX Mirror, FX Gear, something like that. This was a rendering from them from a few years ago.
I see. Oh, so this is from the company, the rendering from the company that Lululemon acquire. No. This is so
this is the company.
Oh, okay. This is Mirror. That's Mirror.
So you can see how you can actually see the person who yourself, and then see the coach.
It's literally a mirror that you look in, and you can see. It's like you're looking at a big old monitor where you can see both yourself and somebody else.
You can see your reflection.
Right.
And then it also displays things on the screen.
I see.
I believe this FX mirror was a hypothetical rendering from a few years ago.
I see.
So I don't think anything actually works like this yet. But I know in the past, there was a lot of talk about how, hey, AR would be great for like going into a store and actually trying on the clothes without actually having to take your clothes off.
No, that's a good idea.
There was a lot
for
of
somebody,
talk about that
for somebody like Lululemon.
I don't think anybody actually achieved it yet.
Yeah.
Or at least not well. But that's what people are thinking that Lululemon is going to be trying to do with it.
You know what though? I think it's a good acquisition if it works out as they promised to have it work out. Because I'm thinking about the future of the world right now, where everything is in the lockdown mode, and people are more hesitant to go shopping, to go to retail store, and retail store may be the things of the past, you know, that might not exist anymore, or maybe a very limited version of it.
Imagine if you had this mirror.
Yeah, that you can... And
you can just try things on at home without having to buy them.
Yeah, to buy them, and you can just... I was like, oh, I love how I look in this.
Like, I'd be so into this because I hate shopping.
Yeah, exactly. So I think...
I want to go to a store.
It's a nice acquisition. If it and also I think with the whole workout thing, there's a lot of talk about how they're trying to compete with Peloton.
And I mean, they do. Well, Lululemon is a company that makes yoga workout clothing.
Yeah.
And they've done other like workout type stuff.
Yes.
Like classes and stuff like that. So it seems like it could be a really interesting acquisition.
It's a match made in heaven, Nelson, or cyber heaven.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think it's a good idea. But okay, so my question to you is that I'm not really a go to class or have a trainer train me kind of person. To me, fitness is always been, I grew up playing basketball in the yard or in the school or something like that, where I just go and play. He says that,
but he loves the Peloton app.
I like it, but I like it, but not that much. Also. Like, I'm not used to it. I don't have a standard to it. But I think my question to you is that you're growing up, you're a dancer.
Yes.
You've been taking a lot of classes, you know, in class setting. That's what I'm trying to compare. What do you think about the idea of having a mirror in your home where you can have a trainer work with you? Do you think that will work?
So I think, in terms of a class setting, I don't know that I'm that into it.
I see.
Because I did do a lot of like the Zoom classes during lockdown. There were a lot of workout classes on Zoom, and we've been doing Peloton, and I don't like people looking at me.
Okay, well no, they can't see you,
they can't
right?
See you. I think so.
I think the point of it is maybe you have a trainer, maybe that's pre-recorded too, like Peloton.
I don't know.
But I'm just thinking, like, does it work? Does it help? Does it enhance anything? Does it add anything? So let's just say it's like Peloton.
The biggest thing about this for me would be being able to see yourself.
I see.
Because a lot of how I get feedback when I'm taking classes, whether it's at a studio or at home, is seeing myself in a mirror and being able to say, hey, do I look correct?
Or the computer or the mirror can use AI, right? Machine learning to check
I think we're a bit far away from that.
To check your pose. To make sure your pose it's okay, right? You're like me. Every time I try to lift weight, and you always walk by and you always say to me,
his form's terrible.
Yeah, my form's terrible. Exactly, my form.
I'm amazed that he hasn't injured himself.
The mirror could have the possibility of checking your form too, right? It's a possibility.
And I mean, that would be very interesting to see if that's something that could happen.
Yeah.
Because it's a complicated problem of very many different body types. And being able to judge what is actually correct on a body type that's completely, like, if I have some like buff dude trainer and I'm a fairly slim, small female, correct on my body is going to look very different from correct on his body.
That's true.
So how is it going to determine if my body's looking the way it should when my body does not look like his body? And I'm sure it's possible. I don't think we're there yet.
Yeah, I think we'll eventually get somewhere with enough training in AI, machine learning. I think we can get maybe 80% there.
But if that were something that could be guaranteed to be correct,
right,
I'd be into it. My problem is that if you can't guarantee it to be correct,
right,
you can screw people up.
You can injure. Somebody could get injured.
You could get really injured if you're trying to do it.
This is why I'm asking you, because to me, I do everything wrong. Like I have no form. You know, I was gonna make a joke. The only mode I have is beast mode. That's it.
But yeah, I do like, and I'm just thinking of things that would apply to me. Having a personal trainer, where and not a lot of people will just randomly have a mirror conveniently in a space where there's a lot of space in their home.
Yeah,
like you have the mirror in your bedroom, but it's kind of crowded in by the dresser and the bed, and I can't really do a workout in front of those mirrors very well.
Right.
It's like there's just not the space.
Right.
But like if I could put this in like my living room or something, there's a bit more.
And I'm thinking
to do something like
technology will get better. Things will get smaller, and it will be just like a flat screen TV that you can just like a normal mirror nowadays. You can just slap to your wall and you'll be done with it.
But so it's interesting. I would not assume, though, that they are acquiring it to put it in people's homes. I would make the assumption that they are acquiring it to put in stores.
I'm sure that's probably the first thing.
At least to start with.
Yeah, to start with.
Because I can't imagine that this is cheap.
No, probably not. Probably not. But then again, the Peloton bike is not cheap either.
True.
But
so we don't have one.
Yeah, exactly. It's not cheap. I don't know. It's like maybe $1,500 to $2,000 maybe, because it comes with the TV and it comes with a big flat screen and all that. Let us know how much it is if you know.
I have no idea.
But I think it's pretty pricey. We don't have one. We just have a normal spinning bike, and I just put my phone there and I just ride it. Sponsor us, please, Peloton.
Right after we say that they're too expensive.
Well, I mean, they can send it to us and we can tell people how. Anyways, just sponsor.
I don't think they'll sponsor us because we don't have one of those super modern houses with the beautiful city views.
That's true. We can't take a picture of ourselves on social media. It's like, oh, look at me today. I'm Pelotoning into my beautiful, modern living room with a
super
backdrop
fancy, wealthy. The backdrop of all of New York.
It's okay. I'll Photoshop it in.
Okay, cool.
I Photoshop,
He's got skills.
After Effects.
That'll be
Fix
great.
everything.
All right.
And video.
So the last thing we wanted to talk about is some development, because you've been playing.
I've been doing a lot of. I've been getting into.
Should I play this?
Yeah, you can play it. So I've been doing.
He's been doing this tutorial series
on YouTube by this guy named Valim. Yes. And it's a really, I think it's like a 7, 8 part series on developing, getting started with playing with VR and Unity using we talk a bit about the toolkits on the last episode, and this one is more specifically geared towards the Unity built-in, or not built-in, but it's Unity. It's made by Unity. Their XR interaction toolkit, and it's utilizing that, and so he's going through teaching you how to get started, building a scene, getting your controllers to work correctly, and I just finished part 2, so my goal is to get it all through the parts so that we can start working on. We can start practicing, right? The goal is that we want to
right now, and you'll see more about this in the devlog that we are probably going to post next week. But we are starting to kind of do a practice run for the VR tabletop Tray Table Jam.
Yep.
That's coming up in August, which is going to be a 2-day game jam. So we're gonna have 2 days.
Yeah.
To make a game.
You know what? Originally, we thought that it was gonna be a whole month.
We thought it was like, oh, just make it whenever you feel like it, and just like submit it sometime in those 2 days.
Right.
No. It's a true game jam.
It's a true weekend game jam. I'm thinking we should record it too. We should record it. Remember to follow us, subscribe to us on YouTube.
Us doing a game jam.
Yeah, we're gonna try to record all the stuff that we're doing within that weekend, so we can put it together and edit. I'll edit it and make it, a whole package. Mm-hmm. So yeah, remember to subscribe if you're listening to the podcast anywhere else, and not on YouTube. Subscribe to our youtube.com/Sushi Code, right? Sushi Codes.
Yep.
Where I'm thinking of recording it somehow, figuring out somehow to record the whole process of us, waking up, eat breakfast or something. Actually, we're probably not going to record that. That would be, it's like the whole game jam's like us eating,
coding,
taking a nap,
eating.
Yeah. Maybe.
That is kind of how we do it.
For Sushi Day TV on YouTube, maybe we can make something delicious for the game jam
to eat during the game jam.
The game jam, yeah.
That works.
But yeah, so the game jam is 2 days. So we're prepping. We're trying
doing
to figure
a test run, and we are doing the claw game,
the claw machine
that
game.
He keeps talking about.
Game. Yeah.
So we are starting to do development.
Yeah, we're trying
to get the claw game more or less prototypes before the game jam, so we kind of have all of the experience of making a VR game, and hopefully can reuse that for the jam.
Yeah. So whatever, I'm thinking, Allison, whatever the theme is, we'll just replace. It's a claw machine game, okay? So whatever the theme is, we just replace the thing that the toys inside the claw machine game, and we'll be done. Call it done.
Plan.
So think about what's zombie, just zombie little toys.
Easy. Watch, it's gonna be some weird conceptual thing, and we're gonna be like, how do we make a toy out of that?
I'll figure it out. We're gonna make everything a claw machine, so it's all good.
He understands how game jams work.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be a lot of hard work, but it's gonna be fun. So yeah, so I've been going through this. We'll leave a link to the YouTube series, the tutorial series in the show note, so you guys can go check it out if you're interested in getting started too. And I enjoyed the tutorial so far. I ran into a little bit of an issue today, but besides that, so far everything has been very well explained.
What was the issue?
Very detailed. The issue is, I think he when he edited the one we're looking at right now on our YouTube, the part 2, when he edited, he accidentally cut it out. Cut part of it out, the important part of it.
So something was missing.
Yeah, and he tries to explain it in the comment, in the first comment, like he pinned it as a comment trying to explain it. But I believe he's French. So his English is a little bit not so, it's not very.
Sometimes things get a little lost in translation.
Exactly. It's like my English. If you listen to the show, it's like my English. Sometimes you need to have somebody explain to TLDR it. Exactly. So his English is not, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So reading through it, and
so the explanation was a little.
It was a little bit. Yeah, it was confusing, and I'm trying to figure out, and other people were trying to explain it, and it was just like, okay, I think I want to see this, in action. Because to me, I'm a visual learner. I learn better when you're just showing it to me on YouTube.
He's the video kind of tutorial person. Right. I'm the just give me something to read kind of tutorial person.
And maybe it's that too. Maybe it's not his fault. Maybe just me.
It could be that too. That you don't understand as well when you have to read something.
Yeah, because when I read stuff, especially technical things, tell me if you have this problem too. But after I read it, especially technical things, words will just start to fly around. And they just don't make sense anymore.
Like is that flying?
Yeah, well, not literally, but
I don't have that problem.
But it's just, would you call that like a dyslexic problem? Like when things are just kind of, all just in my mind, they're all just mumble jumble.
Reading it.
Yeah, all the words just kind of jumble.
I also don't know that much about how dyslexia works, so it could be.
Let us know if you have that problem too. When I'm trying to read something, it just. My mind just kind of go blank and things just flies around and it just doesn't make sense anymore. Maybe I'm crazy.
I mean, I'm much more of a reader, though. I have much more experience reading and understanding things through reading.
Yeah.
So it could just be that it doesn't work as well for you.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe my mind.
Next time, just ask me to read it.
Or maybe it's not dyslexia. Maybe it could just be my ADHD.
Could be that
is kind of acting up. Like I can't hold my patient long enough or attention long enough to kind of comprehend it, and I just kind of my mind just kind of wander off and everything just goes crazy. But anyways, besides that, so far it's been.
So you've been finding it to be a good.
Yeah. It's been really interesting. So,
all right, so it's good to know.
We'll report. I'll keep doing this. I'm going to try to get it done, and we'll report back to.
You're about a quarter of the way done with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
We'll let you know how he feels once he finishes the whole series.
Yeah. And it's been good so far.
Yeah. So if you are enjoying this, or if you want to see more of our devlogs, because we're going to start doing devlogs about all of the stuff that we are doing to prepare for the VR Tabletop Jam.
Yep.
You can check out our YouTube channel at youtube.com/sushicodes. We are going to start trying to do weekly devlogs.
Yes.
In addition to these weekly podcasts. So we have a lot of interesting programming and VR related content coming up on our YouTube channel.
Yep.
So I'm excited about all of this.
Yes, it's gonna be a lot of work, Allison, but it's gonna be fun though. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying VR a lot more this time around than the first time.
I think it helps that you have a lot more time to play with things.
Yeah, and I'm also I know what not to do in VR, and I know when to.
You know when to just get the hell out of a VR experience.
Yep, I know when to nope out of it. Yeet out of a VR experience when it's starting to just do funky things.
We're totally young enough to use that term.
Yes, I'm like 12 at heart, Allison.
I know.
12.
I'm aware.
I'm just starting puberty.
Okay, have you heard his voice?
I'm just starting puberty. I don't know what that means.
But yeah, so a lot of exciting things coming up.
Yeah.
And if you are watching this on YouTube and you'd rather listen to it as a podcast, this podcast is available on iTunes and Spotify and SoundCloud and Breaker and possibly other places.
All the cool podcasts platform that we could get on.
If you're listening to it as a podcast and you are enjoying it, we would really, really, really appreciate it if you left a review or a rating on iTunes. I don't think you can leave a review on Spotify. I don't think you can review podcasts. But on iTunes you can. So if you've been enjoying it, we would love a review and a rating, because that will help our podcast go somewhere.
Yeah.
And we're on YouTube. We've got a Patreon if you want to help support us.
Yes.
We are Sushi Day on Patreon. Yes. And got lots more coming up.
Yeah. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.